Hey everyone. So we are going to go over the Odyssey Notes number 1. This is just a summary of everything that happens in the Odyssey before we start our first story of it. Okay, so the first story that we are reading together is the Lotus Eaters, but that's not the beginning of the Odyssey. So we need to have a little introduction of what's happening before we get to the Lotus Eaters. Okay, so there's kind of a lot that's happening. If you guys remember, one of your vocab words is medias res. Oh wait, no, it's not. It's not medias res. Okay, well, dang, that should have been. Okay, medias res means that we're starting in the middle of things. So I don't know if you've ever seen a Quentin Tarantino movie. Quentin Tarantino directed Kill Bill, volumes 1 and 2. He directed Pulp Fiction. He directed Inglourious Bastards. If you know anything about those movies, they don't go in chronological order. They don't go from the start of the time and then work through times, adding, and then to the end of the story, which would be the last point in time. They don't do that. And neither does the Odyssey. With the Odyssey, we start right in the middle of the story, okay? And then Odysseus, our main character, he actually narrates everything in the first part of the story, okay? And the very second part of the story, from half on, he is no longer the narrator, okay? But for this first part, he is the narrator, and we are going to get into it, why he is in the first place. Okay, so what is happening at the very beginning of the Odyssey before we start reading? And our first reading is the Lotus Eaters. So this is everything that's happening before the Lotus Eaters. All right. Okay, let's get into it. So your guys' notes look something like this. Okay, so 10 years have passed since the fall of Troy in the Trojan War. And you guys know all about the Trojan War from watching Troy, the movie that had Brad Pitt in it, Dreamy, and Orlando Bloom. Okay, so 10 years have passed since the fall of Troy in the Trojan War. So we know that the story of the Odyssey is 20 years long. So that's what I mean by medias res. We're starting right in the middle of the story. So okay, the Greek hero Odysseus still has not returned to his kingdom in, do we remember where he lives? It is Ithaca, okay? So in Ithaca, a large and rowdy mob of suitors have overrun Odysseus's palace and pillaged his land. They continue to court his wife. I don't know if anyone remembers the name of his wife. You might from the one Ed puzzle that we did, but her name is Penelope. Okay, so a whole bunch of these suitors are in Ithaca while Odysseus is away. He still hasn't returned home from the war. So these suitors are trying to gain Penelope's hand in marriage, okay? Because if they gain Penelope's hand in marriage, then they get the kingdom. Okay, so Penelope, though, has remained faithful / loyal, whichever you want to put, to Odysseus. Okay, so Prince Blank, this is Odysseus' son. I don't know if any of you guys remember his name. His name is Telemachus. So Prince Telemachus, Odysseus' son, wants desperately to throw out those suitors, but does not have the experience or the skill, unfortunately. Okay. One of the suitors, Blank, plans to assassinate Telemachus, the young prince, eliminating the only opposition to their dominion over the palace. So once they get rid of Telemachus, they're pretty much set. All they have to do there is marry Penelope and they become the king of Ithaca. Okay, that one suitor who's trying to plan to assassinate Telemachus, his name is Antinous. We're going to grow to know him. You are not going to like him. Or maybe you will if you have a dark side. Okay. So, unknown to the suitors, though, Odysseus is still alive. Sorry, that kind of switched from the bottom to the top. So, unknown to the suitors, including Antinous, Odysseus is still alive, but he is being trapped. So, the beautiful nymph Calypso, possessed by love for him, has imprisoned him on her island Ogygia. And I think I'm pronouncing that right. I go back to YouTube, like try to pronounce these words, and I think I always end up botching them. Anyways, so Calypso has Odysseus trapped on her island. She loves him, okay? So he longs to return to his wife and son, but he has no ship or no crew to help him escape. While the gods and goddesses do you guys remember where the gods and goddesses live? This was definitely one of your vocab words. They live on Mount Olympus. While the gods and goddesses of Mount Olympus debate Odysseus' future, blank, Odysseus' strongest supporter among the gods, what god or goddess do we think might be Odysseus' strongest supporter? Well, it is Athena. Okay. So Odysseus' strongest supporter, Athena, resolves to help Telemachus. Okay, so she's going to, instead of helping Odysseus directly, she's going to help his son because his son has some things in the works. So, disguised as a friend of the prince's grandfather and Odysseus' father, I don't think you guys know what his name is, but his name is Laertes. Okay? Disguised as a friend, so Athena is disguised as one of Laertes' friends. She convinces the prince to call a meeting. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Did I just say that wrong? No, she's disguised as Laertes. No, friend. Sorry, having a brain fart. Okay, no, a friend of Laertes. Disguised as a friend of Laertes, she convinces the prince to call a meeting of the assembly at which he approaches the suitors. Okay, so this friend is, slash Athena, is trying to get some kind of strategy going here. So Athena is going to prepare Telemachus for a great journey to, I think we might know one of these Greek cities. It's Pylos and Sparta. This is Sparta. Okay, where the kings Nestor and Menelaus. And these two are kings where they were fighting alongside Odysseus during the Trojan War. Okay, so they inform Telemachus. This is Telemachus's first time knowing that Odysseus is alive. Okay, and not only that, he's trapped on Calypso's island. So, what the? Shoot, where am I? Here we go. Okay. So Telemachus makes plans to return home, but back in Ithaca, Antinous and the other suitors are preparing an ambush to kill him when he reaches port, when he gets home. Okay. Now, on Mount Olympus, these gods and goddesses are trying to work out a plan. They're trying to work out a strategy. So on Mount Olympus, Zeus sends Hermes, and we know Zeus is the Greek god of the gods, and Hermes is the messenger god. So on Mount Olympus, Zeus sends Hermes to rescue Odysseus from Calypso. So Hermes persuades Calypso to let Odysseus build a ship and leave. So the homesick hero sets sail, but when blank, god of the sea, do you guys remember who the god of the sea is? It is Poseidon. When he sets sail, Poseidon finds him sailing home, and he sends a blank to blank Odysseus' ship. What do you guys think? He sends a storm to wreck Odysseus' ship. I was like, come on, dude, let it go. Okay, so Poseidon has harbored a bitter grudge against Odysseus for reasons we're going to learn about later. I don't want to give it away right now, even though some of you might know it already. So Poseidon has harbored a bitter grudge against Odysseus for reasons we'll learn about in further reading, blah, blah, blah. So guess who intervenes? Athena. Athena intervenes to save Odysseus from Poseidon's wrath. Okay. So Athena just loves her some Odysseus. So when she does this, he is going to actually end up at a different island. And that land is Sharia. which is home of the Phaeacians. Okay. Now, blank, the Phaeacian blank shows him to the blank. What is it? Nausicaa is the Phaeacian princess, and she shows him to, where does a princess live? The royal palace. So Nausicaa is the princess of Phaeacia, and she shows him the royal palace, where Odysseus receives a warm welcome from the who and the who. You guys can probably guess this. The king and the queen. Okay. When he identifies himself as Odysseus, his hosts know him. They know him from, you guys remember when you watched Troy, what was Odysseus's magical plan? What was it magical? What was his grand plan and how they ended up winning? He was the person who had the idea to go in through that giant horse. So they know, the king and queen of the Phaeacians, they know about his exploits at Troy, and they're stunned. They're like, oh my God, this guy's at our house right now, what? So they promised to give him a safe passage back to, do you guys remember where Odysseus lives? Where Telemachus lives, where Penelope lives? They promised to give him a safe passage back to Ithaca, but first they begged to hear of his Odyssey, which means journey. Okay? Journey is the title of our unit. Odyssey is the title of this reading. It all makes sense. It all works together. Okay? So now they're begging to hear of his story. So this is where Odysseus starts narrating. He says, okay, so we left Troy and here's what happened. And the first thing that we're going to read is the Lotus Eaters. That's the first thing that happens after he and all of his men that are leaving with him when they leave Troy. Okay? And we're going to get into that next week. The Lotus Eaters is next week. All right. Okay, so if you guys have any questions for me, you feel free to ask. Feel free to leave a private comment, email. You know the drill. Sorry. Okay.